Hello.
It is Friday. Wow, and you showed up without any glitching. This has been a restream glitch-free day.
Yeah, you jumped in. Everything was working. We're now live. It's working for me. Yeah, perfect. Look, this is Good Friday.
Including my PFP, which I don't know if we're allowed to call it art anymore. There's a debate out there.
Ooh, is this about AI art?
Ooh, yeah. Like when it was just the crypto tech nerds discussing it, it was just, haha, this fun, cool thing. Look what you could do. Now that the artists found out about it, woo, they're mad. I'm like, what is this fucking thing?
Well,
they're mad, baby.
Yeah, I could see. You know, it's funny because that AI debate has been going on for a long time of what jobs are at risk, even just of automation, but particularly AI, right? What jobs are at risk and what jobs are going to have to pivot to survive and whatnot. And, you know, there's some simple ones that are obvious, like factory line working and stuff like that is at risk of being highly automated. It's just, you know, physical tasks like that are just repetitive in nature. And then you start going down the list. And one of the ones that was really surprising to me on this list, I remember seeing it years ago. It was a university, I guess, study or something. Listing it was doctors. Doctors were very at risk of it because what had happened was artificial intelligence was at a higher success rate of visually diagnosing symptoms. Right?
Yes, Watson. Do you remember Watson? IBM's Watson is the AI doctors use. Yeah.
And you know, they have a full, huge, massive database to reference, which is a huge leg up over a doctor's individual experiences over their lives. They're unbiased, right? And you know, so AI was actually actually diagnosing things at a higher success rate. So they say, well, do we still need doctors? Yeah, of course, because one of the things that AI wasn't supposed to be good at is emotional, you know.
Yeah, but are doctors good at that? The main complaint you get about doctors is bad bedside manner. Now we can just have actors.
Correct. But they're saying that would be the pivot, right?
Yeah.
Now doctors are going to be more emotional strength rather than.
That's my point. They're going to start hiring actors instead of doctors. You don't need a doctor. You need an actor. The machine, and you know, you think about robotic surgery. All right, this is a robot can be so much more accurate than a human being with shaky hands and feelings, and maybe just broke up that morning with their boyfriend or girlfriend.
Their coffee wasn't right, so they didn't drink it, and they're going through caffeine withdrawal. Like, we are susceptible to that stuff.
Exactly, and when there's no margin for error, like somebody's life, you can see how robots would be better, and certainly you'll have the dystopian, nightmarish scenarios of the person who hacks the robot doctor to do, messed up stuff, whatever. In the end, net, it'll be a benefit for society, I'm sure. But I think this leads well into the market conversation today because I went on a bit of a rant this morning. And you may hear me speak a lot about deflation being the real problem versus inflation. Now, why is that?
I'm trying to figure out the segue there.
Right. Now, why is...
it's coming. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Now, why is deflation happening and why is it bad? We talked about why it was bad because when people think their dollar will be worth more tomorrow, they don't spend. They don't want to spend it. Okay, that's the bad first order effect of deflation. But why is deflation happening? Right now, technology is forcing the price of goods lower faster than we can create jobs, right? So think about that. the iPhone has eliminated your need to do a lot of things, to travel to certain places. You use less gas because you have an iPhone. Okay. And that's just one little example of somewhere where you have now made something someone did much cheaper and much more efficient. You've given them a lot more time. Technology is doing this in so many ways around our society. That is why, since the late 1970s and early 1980s, we haven't even seen a whisper. Inflation hasn't been the problem. It's been deflation. Why did we have 0% interest rates?
Let me ask this from kind of a less kind of technically minded brain. We always talk about, everything's kind of a Ponzi, even population. We need a growing population to keep feeding kind of the economic machine that we've created. And that there's no commentary on that. That's just kind of, matter of fact. Does the dynamics of requiring less labor change that, ease that up, or even make it better?
It does. Yes. The problem is you have to change the foundational systems of society to go with it. And we just don't move that fast. Technology moves faster than we can change things. The founding fathers, and the United States Constitution is a lot of what democracy around the world is based on right now. So I'll use it as a base in a sense. But the idea was that you don't want things to happen quickly. You want things to happen slowly, so rash things cannot have, a fast-talking dictator, a fast-talking president who has dictator-like qualities, maybe like a Donald Trump, who, again, we will talk about later in the show.
Great segue.
There are reasons that we have the checks and balances in place that we do, but there are also negative effects to those things, and it's our inability to keep up with technology, right? There's a lot of things we could do to adjust society to technology, but it can't be done quick enough to keep up with the event, and it's exponential. We keep speeding up how fast we advance. Since Moore's law has been valid, deflation has been a larger problem than inflation. And just because we had one little pandemic and a few $1 trillion of stimulus, it's not going to reverse a secular trend. Okay. And that is what I think is the huge mistake by this Federal Reserve, because they are looking at history. They are deciding that throughout history, inflation has become sticky if we don't do something about it. We need to get ahead of it in a big way. I think that is just so ridiculous. It's nuts, because they're ignoring the larger trend that other Federal Reserve banks and presidents have been very well aware of and been trying to fight for a long time. So I think what you're going to see, the big issue right now is wages. Oh, wages are growing too fast. It's like when people's paychecks are going up 5%, they tend to go out and spend that money, which continues to force the price of goods higher. Okay. So that is a concern for the Fed, because how can you have 2% inflation when wages are growing 5%? Well, a private company that watches the labor market today released a report showing that the trend suggests wages will be back to pre-pandemic growth rates by the middle of next year. Okay. And that means the Federal Reserve is trying to get ahead of something that doesn't exist. It's already going in the other direction. So they're going to cause a lot of unnecessary pain, but not to rich people, to Main Street. Okay. Because by the middle of next year, Main Street wages are going to go flat.
Yeah. I have that feeling too, actually. I think that there was a lot of found money for like the everyday person. I almost think we were in a bit of a bubble in that regard too, right? It was never easier in the last 2 years, particularly during the pandemic, to log into your phone and start making money with your own labor, right? You could be an Uber driver, you could be an Uber Eats or DoorDash driver, you could be an Instacart shopper. I don't know if that's a Canadian thing, but basically buying and delivering groceries to people, and you could log on and probably within a couple hours be earning money. And you forego that the job applications, the competitiveness of finding these jobs, and then all of a sudden, combined that with the lack of in-person jobs, so to speak, like a lot of restaurants were shut down for a long time, a lot of staff had to leave, and all of these other kind of retail jobs, people were forced into these. But I think as interest rates and prices of everything start to go up, mortgages in particular, people start to realize that they don't have as much expendable income. So now they're not ordering off Uber Eats as much because you pay a 25 to 30% premium, right? And things are changing. Now all of those drivers or all of the people participating in the gig economy are now struggling and competing for fewer deliveries, and they're going to have to re-enter the kind of the traditional job market. And now where people were begging for employees, I think there's going to be more of an abundance of them.
Right. And we are in the United States specifically have 4 million unfilled positions. Okay, there's 4 million jobs right now that have gone up. People are like, why hasn't the labor market cracked? What's forcing wages higher? Well, it's a bunch of people who aren't going back to work, and they haven't gone back to work for many reasons. Maybe they were an NFT trader. Okay,
Could be, yeah. No,
right.
and I never really bought this narrative, and it was really strong here in Canada because we kept our pandemic relief payments to people going on for a lot longer than I think we should have, but that's a whole nother conversation. There were a lot of people who were like, oh, kids these days just don't want to work. Nobody wants to go back to work. Everybody, well, one, that's because they were being enabled to, and two, it's most of them were earning money in non-traditional ways, i.e. the gig economy, right? So there was that idea, that narrative that people just don't want to work, but that's happened forever. People have been saying that since I've been working, and I'm sure anybody else, and you could go down the line 50 years ago, 100 years ago, kids these days, people these days, they just don't get it. That's been an age-old conversation. I just think that the dynamics had shifted so much, and that the demand for traditional employees came back so strong post-pandemic, but the supply was so weak that they in and of themselves drove wages up way, way higher than they were, way, way above minimum wage. I've seen that firsthand.
And if you wait until the middle of next year when you're forced to go back to the labor market, you're going to be taking a lower paycheck. And
100%.
You
want
want
to
to
be competitive. You're going to be,
people,
instead of
right.
employers begging for employees, they're going to be saying, they're going to have, dozens of resumes to sift through. And now you have to pick. And when you're sitting down for that interview and you say, what's an acceptable wage that would, you'd be looking for, they themselves are going to have to drive that number lower. That's how it works.
And let's look at the big picture. The Federal Reserve had nothing to do with inflation dying. Inflation died because the pandemic started to relax. The world started to open up again. Supply chains felt some relief. This is a supply crisis. More than anything else, it's a supply crisis. Yes, demand is up, but this is at its base a supply crisis. We would very likely be here, inflation-wise, had the Fed done nothing. Nothing is a strong word, but certainly not been as aggressive, not been the most aggressive Fed we have seen in multiple decades. So that is the question now, is what they have done going to, because they can't unwind that quickly. They can't lower 300 basis points quickly, but guess what's going to happen quickly next year as shit unwinds, okay? This is what we're worried about now. It's why I think the Fed has been severely out of bounds, raising as aggressively as they have, and continuing to be aggressive. Continuing to raise the reason markets are down is because the Fed, which really said nothing new, releases something called a dot plot, which showed that the majority of members favor 5 to 5.25% on the terminal rate versus 4.75 to 5. So basically a 0.25% higher than they thought is what they think they're going to do. These are predictions, okay? And that's what I want to caution people against, is that people seem to say, oh, don't fight the Fed, just listen to what the Fed says, when the Fed is saying what they want to hear. But when it's not, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you can't listen to what they're saying. The Fed never gets anything right, blah, 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 blah. I think you really need to just pay attention to the underlying data and the fundamentals and look at the dollar, look at bonds, and look at CPI, PPI, PCE, whatever measure you want to look at. Inflation is dead. And now they are moving.
Go outside and look at the sun and some grass.
That too. But inflation is dead. And now bears and people who want to see lower prices are moving the goalposts and saying, oh, we're changing to caring about different things. No, we aren't. And I think whatever weakness we are experiencing today, and this spilled over into coins, as we know, but I will say that I don't think anything new happened with coins. I think they were basically just taken down by macro yesterday.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to pull up a tweet that shows the kind of the situation that we were in yesterday in the macro. But I just wanted to say GM to everybody who's been saying GM in the comments there. I appreciate it, and appreciate everyone showing up. This is going to be episode 176 of the AM show. We obviously just talked a little bit about the macro scene, and I'm going to pull up some prices here just for a little bit of context. We are down, and there was like a straight line down there that I woke up to, but down 4.5% on ETH in the 24-hour, 5% on the week. So pretty much all of that is just in the last couple of hours. Bitcoin down 2.5%, holding up a little bit steady, but didn't quite have the same kind of, we're talking about different low points here between Bitcoin and ETH, but they're pretty much acting the same way right now. Binance has taken a bit of a dump, especially on the week, as there's a lot of FUD. We're going to talk a little bit about CZ kind of going to battle with Kevin O'Leary and all of this nonsense, but Binance kind of getting a stress test right now, and I think seeming to be holding up. I don't know. And also wanted to point out OKB actually well in the green in the last 24 hours, 6.6% and up almost 20% on the week. That is in the wake of, I guess, Elon following that Twitter account. I don't know if there's some speculation on OKB. It's an exchange of some sort that I know very little about, but people got very excited about that once Elon kind of.
I'll also point out that Tether and USDC are green today too, so that's also a positive.
Yeah, encouraging. It's actually kind of funny as we go through this bear market. More and more of these stable coins are creeping up higher and higher into the top 10, right? So I think we have three of them.
I mean, on some level, this is stable coins are such an important part of the ecosystem. As you know, the Genie airdrop, that if you had participated or used the Genie protocol to sweep some NFTs before April, you got a little airdrop from Uniswap there, and it was in USDC. So it was actually in a stable coin. And you look at that and you say, why are...
Which is great, because they dropped you actual money.
Right? They dropped you actual money. And you wonder almost why that hasn't been. Why do we even price pairs with WETH? Like when we're talking about shitcoins, I saw a lot of shitcoins launch against USDC and USDT, and why not? It kind of makes sense, right? Because now you're not worried about whether you also are showing a loss against the native currency that you actually bought it in. You're not watching two things, right? You're only watching one, because most of these coins are quoted to you in dollars and cents, even though they're paired to ETH. So that always can get a little confusing and can end up costing you money when you thought you made money. If you're not.
Yeah, I always look at ETH and Bitcoin, like the combination of the two, of like my stack denominated in those, because that's kind of the deciding factor of like, am I beating the market or not? Right? Is my actual stack growing? Because I think most of us will be in agreement that, you have a few long-term coins that you're bullish on, and you want to make sure that number is going up, regardless of what other denominations you're using.
Yeah, and like I said, if the NFT market rallied here and we went back to all-time highs in ETH, we'd all still be down 75% on our NFTs. So
yeah, we would be. We would be, but I would still consider that a huge win as long as my ETH stack goes up, because that's my long-term bull case, right?
Yeah, but then I think a lot of people believe stable coins may be the largest use case for crypto right now. And there is a decent argument there, but bottom line, macro is driving the truck. FOMC was bearish. I think this is a giant bear trap. I'm very happy to stick my neck. And this has been much more violent in the stock market than it has in coins, because
Yeah.
we were
It
up
was
to 4180 after that soft CPI on Tuesday. Okay. We got down to 3880 this morning before this brief little pop here. That's a 300 point move in the S&P, and stocks reflect it. I mean, it was a bloodbath the last
Yeah, I
few
have this
days.
tweet here pulled up. Like, I mean, you want to see some red colors there. It's pretty nasty. If you also want to put into context of just how small the crypto market is, yesterday over $878 billion was wiped out from the US stock market. That is more than the entire market cap of
It would have been
crypto.
the end of crypto. Pack it up. We'd have been at
Yep.
zero if that actually would have happened. Everyone would have been happy. The zero people who were
So
calling.
if you want the cliche, you're still early. There you go.
But
The stock market just lost all of crypto.
let's try to get our head out of this. Okay. Now, why is this happening? Something is happening this week. Triple witching. Okay. We are having futures
Is that like
bonds.
a club sandwich? You get
Yes.
the
Well,
three slices of bread, some.
you're having multiple expirations in traditional markets all happening on the same day. All right. And you're talking about end of year flows. This week was going to be very volatile. And we absolutely killed bears to the upside because nobody was expecting the CPI soft and then subsequent pop to 4180, which was out of nowhere. So you literally stopped out all the bears to the upside. Then you completely kill all the bulls to the downside. But I think it's just a shake and bake. I think after expiration today, we're going to start going back in the other direction. And coins have just been held hostage by this. I think the only way you're going to get a new low in coins is if Binance or Genesis declares bankruptcy or goes insolvent or something like that. Otherwise, I don't think so. I'm not saying there's going to be a huge rally. I think the next leg would be up, but I just think that you're not going to get new lows in crypto unless there's another bankruptcy. We're stress testing Binance as we speak, and so far they're still operational. I am of the belief that once we get past options expiration today, things are going to turn back around. We'll be back over 4,000 in the S&P.
Yeah.
And coins, ETH will be back over 1,300. And then we will see if Santa comes to town for the last couple of weeks of December.
There's been a lot of FUD around BNB coin being the kind of extension of that. We talked about it a little bit on the last show, but I think a lot of that FUD right now is coming from the audit company Mazars is not working with crypto firms at all anymore. They're working on a Merkle tree proof of reserve system that they'll start employing, which is interesting. But Binance right now is looking for a new auditor. And essentially, all the big four auditing firms are saying they don't want to work with anything related to crypto. I honestly think that this is more of an optics play, wouldn't you? Like, I think that after FTX kind of just burned everyone, there's probably a lack of trust of, like, you have all of this information, but what are you hiding behind the scenes to make it true or not? And I don't think any one of those firms want to take the reputational risk of saying, yeah, everything's great, and then Binance absolutely collapsing in front of them, regardless of the audit being right or not. So, do you have a take on that, or am I feel like it is just an optics thing? Or did you get rugged?
I think he's doing everything wrong from a PR standpoint in the sense that, like,
Who, TZ?
yes, because anybody from traditional accounting and traditional finance is going to look at what he is saying and think this is the exact same thing as FTX. Now, he could be telling the truth here and he may be correct, but he's saying all the wrong stuff in public, which is another reason that this bank run has some legs, is because he went on CNBC yesterday and looked a fool. And it's, it's another stress test on a centralized exchange. We'll see if they make it through. I think that with the backing of the CCP, he will be fine, because Binance is just a front for the Chinese Communist Party. You laugh.
Elaborate. No, that's all.
I don't need to. It's literally a front for the Communist Chinese Party. It was what they used to mess around in crypto, and I don't think they're going to let it go out of business, because it's just so easy to get into the computers of Americans through Binance. And Europeans and Canadians and anyone who uses
no, I can't use Binance either. No. I don't even know what I can use anymore, honestly. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to have crypto. Why is there a knock at my door? Yeah, don't do that. You scare the shit out of me. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so anyways, Binance getting a stress test seems to be, I guess, hold it up. Well, I think we'll be all right. I think the worst is over. And good news, Sam Bankman-Fried is in good spirits in his rat-infested prison. Just wanted to check in with good old SBF and make sure he's doing all right. But apparently not playing League of Legends anymore, so he's probably going through some withdrawals with that.
Yeah, but I feel bad for him. That's not a good place.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, no, it isn't. You're right. I guess the Bahamanian prison system not super pleasant, but he is fighting extradition, and he also has been denied bail. That makes sense to me too. But
I know many people listening are part of the mob and holding their pitchforks as we speak. I tend to not like to see any human being put inside piss rat infested boxes for any reason. That's just not something that I tend to enjoy. I mean, if someone is a physical threat to society, I don't think we have a choice, but I mean, I don't see Sam as a physical threat to society.
I don't think a lot of people see him as a physical threat. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've seen the way he runs in that video. So I think I can outrun him.
That seems like the only reason to violently contain someone in a piss box would be if they were being violent to the outside world. Otherwise, it just seems like
I'm not going to try. I don't want to sound like an apologist when we talk about SBF or Carolyn Ellison and all of those people and what they did. I did think that, like, the reaction was a little when we started going on about the orgies and like kind of those just ad hominem attacks on them. It was just like, who cares? Like I that was not part of the narrative that like really sparked much interest. And like I agree with you in the sense of like, he deserves it, and they're like, he deserves to go to jail, absolutely. But I agree that there are some basic human rights here where it's just like, you don't have to punish people in the absolute worst way possible and confine someone to a lifetime of like absolute bottom of the barrel suffering, right? Like, it's not, you don't have to take them on a tour of the 7 circles of hell.
I don't know if it worked. I just think that we wouldn't have seen any more Ponzi schemes since they busted the first guy, the Ponzi guy.
The what?
I mean, there was the guy who invented Ponzi schemes.
Charles Ponzi?
Charles Ponzi. He was put in jail, wasn't he? Did it stop Ponzi schemes? Were people like, ooh, that looks tough. We're not going to do any more.
Right. I would hate to spend some time in that prison.
So if it's not deterring people from doing the same thing, the fuck is the point?
That's
they're getting bigger. It's not just not deterring people; they get bigger every time. It's almost encouraging them. I'm not sure why, but looking at the empirical evidence, I'm not sure why we're punishing people. I don't understand.
Wow. Okay. Anyways, big news yesterday. Exciting news. Huge announcement. I can't do that. I'm not even going to try an impersonation here. Donald Trump much to a lot of people's dismay, I think across the board, dropped an NFT collection. Wow, quite the reaction to it. But like even just from people who are like not in crypto or NFTs that are like, I think Trump supporters were. I think a lot of them are like, what the hell is this? Uh, Essentially a Fiverr art PFP collection, dropped 45,000 of them. They were $99 each. You could buy them in crypto or dollars. Doing shockingly well though. They have been on a volume run here. When I woke up this morning, it was at about 600 ETH in volume. It's almost doubled that, almost at 1100 ETH in volume, and the floor was 0.13. So I mean, it's gone up.
It's actually a lot like the 2016 election. No one believed it. Right when it started, it seemed to be going the wrong way. And then you wake up this morning and the results from Florida start to come in. And you're like, that's weird. Florida looks like, Florida seems to be, that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was always some speculation that he was going to do something in this space. I think we all thought it would be a bigger deal. This, I mean, people have been digging up Amazon ads for like trench coats and realizing that like some of the traits on these were essentially just photoshopped, and it's just like the cheapest Fiverr art.
Did you expect anything less?
No, I don't.
It's perfect. That's part of the art. If it hadn't been a tacky ripoff, it wouldn't have been Trump-esque. It's on brand.
It's on brand. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. There were some big sales on these things too, which I would actually have expected. I know there were a couple of 6 ETH, 5, bunch of above 3 ETH sales too. So I've also seen people just doing absolute massive sweeps on these. Hey, look, if you don't mind having these in your wallet, and you want to long hold something, I have to imagine that there's going to be some element of history in this, whether you like it or not, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the first president to launch an NFT collection. It's Donald Trump of all people. Like, you know, it's pretty hard to fade that. You mentioned 2016 election. Like that was absolutely leading up to that. There was every step of the way. There's no way. And everyone did that with this NFT collection too. There's no way. And you know, if you bought it at mint price, you've made some money. You've doubled your money. No problem.
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why they call it the present.
What? Okay. I thought that was like a Beatles song you were reciting or something.
No, that's actually Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, is that right? I've never actually seen that movie. Is that terrible?
I don't know. You would have known that quote. Would have helped.
Yeah. I mean, true. I don't.
They helped in your job.
Never ended up watching that with the kid.
Would have been a career plus.
To watch it?
Yeah, because never mind.
Well, don't spoil it for me. Now I feel like I have to watch it.
The panda dies.
What? No, they don't. There was like 8 sequels, like eight follow-up movies. I
wouldn't spoil it for you, see?
Do we like the Trump NFTs?
I do. I think they're I don't own them. I wouldn't buy them, but I actually think they're perfect. Again, if you bring me in as a business consultant, I don't give a shit who it is. You know, I'm not sitting here.
That's what we're talking about here.
I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, if Trump was I have seen all these cards look exactly like the Trump flags you see waving around the United States. Do you know how many pickup trucks I've seen with like a muscular Trump riding an eagle and holding an AK-47 or whatever, or an AR-15? This is like right up their alley. It's perfect.
I love Googling like the most American picture ever.
Right. This seems like a good business decision, executed well, and now it's a pump for anybody that that bought. So, you know, that's what I have to say about it.
He's promising some utility meetings and stuff like that too. Chances at it. So hey, it's a utility token as well. Why not?
I would feel bad if I met Donald Trump and he asked me if I voted for him. I would feel bad when I said no. He has that thing. He just, I don't know. He looks like a big baby. Like, you don't want to disappoint him, Like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, the baby wants oh.
Yeah.
He wants to know
I
you
also did
voted
not
for
vote
you.
for Donald.
Yes, I voted for you. Yes, you're the biggest president there ever was. You're such a president. Look at you with the nuclear codes. Ooh, the button.
Do you get picked up by the Secret Service if you pinch the cheeks of a president?
Yes, you get tackled to
Is
the
that
ground
is that
and
against
sent to
the
a
code of
CIA dark site. So,
conduct? Do you end up in a rat-infested prison? Okay,
I would actually say American prisons, especially CIA black sites, very rat-free. I've heard.
Are they? Do you know that firsthand? Can you confirm?
Yeah, because if you're a rat, you never ended up there in the first place. You immediately squelched on whoever.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Fuck, if I'm spending my life in a CIA black site, it was him. It was R2. All him.
All right, I'm shutting this show down now. That was brutal. I'm done. Okay, yeah. Anyways, do we have anything else to talk about with the Donald Trump NFTs?
I'll leave you with this. Kofifi.
Yeah, why wasn't that part of it?
Because that would have been too smart. Again, we're not thinking outside the box. The one thing about Donald Trump people, there's a box and they live in it. There's not a lot of outside the box.
I will say, the one I don't know what inspired this, but like if somebody in that circle was like, we need some kind of nod to NFTs, they did do a pixel head. I don't think that there's any like relation to Donald, because he's like, this is a
want me to
reflection
tell
of
you what they look like from far away? It looks like cyber brokers. Like if you had told me this was the Trump trade on cyber brokers, yeah, it looks like fucking cyber brokers. It shows you how fine a line there is between good art and Donald Trump trading cards.
That's the new spectrum on a scale of Donald Trump trading cards to 10. Like, how good is this art?
Audience, chime in. Are those not cyber brokers? Come on.
A lot of people punching the air right now. What happened to cyber brokers? I mean, I remember when they were supposed to be
like a 2.1 ETH floor and a community that cares.
I mean, 0.8 in this economy.
How much?
0.8.
0.8?
Yeah.
Well,
they were, supposed to be the most important NFT collection ever. I believe was the.
They're on chain.
Yeah, they're on chain. Yeah.
Now scroll down fast. Fast though. That was the Donald Trump collection.
It's not.
That's the fucking Donald Trump collection. You can't tell me Donald Trump collection. Go to both. Go back and forth. Go like.
It's not loading fast enough.
Oh my god! See, I didn't even know which one it was when you did it.
This is our new standard: Trump or cyber brokers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. The angry mob.
Well, the 0.8 floor, Trump could very easily flip. They've even flipped them in market cap already. So there's 45,000 cards.
It's going to be close. Probably not quite, but yeah. Oh no, you're right.
They flipped. Yeah.
Trump NFTs flip cyber brokers. That's the title I should have had on the show.
I know that should have been the. People be like, "What is?"
Hey, look. If digital collectibles reach a mainstream audience, I believe that there are more than 45,000 Donald Trump fans that would probably be willing to spend some money on this. So if you keep them in your wallet for long enough, I think you'll be all right. If pure investment is all you're looking for, I mean, it's a legit actual collection. There's no doubt about that. There were some people thinking that it was a deep fake, but it's not.
No.
Cool. All right. Next topic. Meme cards. Meme cards, something we've never really talked about on this show, but Punk 6529 and his season 1 of meme cards are coming to a close. And this is actually a really incredible collection. Today, there's going to be 420 X copy meme cards dropping. So finishing the season off with a bang there. But you had some good insight in the pre-show when we were looking at these as to, Punk 6529 and what this collection kind of is.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know who Punk 6529 is, please go follow him on Twitter. He is the thought leader in our industry. I don't think there's anybody else who has been around as long, predicted as much as we see now happening, and been on the right side of everything, right? He's not a scammer. He's never been involved in anything shady. And he puts things in such plain and digestible language that he appeals to people who are curious about NFTs. He also tends to steer the general conversations. He writes long threads about his opinions on the market, NFTs, crypto, philosophy, trading, and he is very universally loved. One of his most famous tweets is a tweet that says, "Seize the memes of production." And of course, that's wordplay on "seize the means of production." And this is a collection inspired by that. It reminds me very much of Rare Pepe's in the sense that he gathers his favorite artists and has them make a meme card for his collection, of which there's a certain number in each edition. And I will happily predict here on this show that a full set of meme cards, and this is season 1, he will do subsequent seasons, a season 1 full set of meme cards will auction at Christie's or Sotheby's within the next 2 or 3 years. If I think we've beaten to death the concept of memes really being the crux of crypto in general. People talk about memes and meme coins almost in a derogatory way or a negative way. Like, these are the problem with things, but there are very smart thought leaders like 6529 who would tell you that memes are it. Memes are everything. Everything, when you boil down to it, is a meme because it is what human beings respond to. So I think this is a very important collection, of which the last of season 1 is minting today.
Well, I mean, even just pull that conversation out of crypto and NFTs and like what memes are. Like, you look at Facebook and Instagram and all of these viral trends that start happening now on like TikTok and whatnot. Those are all memes, like replicatable, relatable things that are highly shareable and people feel a desire to share. I mean, it's become the most effective advertising tool, right? It's become the most effective way of sharing emotion and an idea. Like, memes are actually incredibly powerful, and you've seen why when you look at these memers, these like the Instagram memers and stuff like that. Like, their content is highly, highly, highly monetizable and shared, and they make tons and tons of money off of it because they are incredibly effective at communicating information through simple, easily digestible pictures or ideas, right? Like that's what that is. And so when you boil it down to that, like, yeah, I mean, memes are absolutely it. And it sounds like such a like a Gen Z or millennial thing, like memes, like, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, it's about culture, right? What drives culture?
100%
And
it is.
it's ideas. And I think the crux of it is text or speech isn't the most effective way to describe an idea. I think you may not have said that up until modern times, but memes can get a feeling across much better than words. I mean, just try to describe a meme to someone. The person's like, okay. like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? But
Yep.
when you see the meme, you get it. There's a feeling. There's an entire there's something that's
That's
very hard.
probably the definition of a really good meme. Something that takes 2 minutes to describe, but can be understood within a picture within seconds, right?
Exactly. So human beings are now digesting ideas faster than they ever have. It's just part of this exponential uh, rate of
Yep.
evolution that we are experiencing, whether we're talking about technology or our minds and the way that we think. So everything in our life can be distilled down to mimetic signal. And I think crypto, when you look back at this generation and debating which coins will have utility in the future and how blockchain will work and everything. But when you define this generation of crypto, it's going to be the meme generation. And that I think has a lot of history to it, which is why these feel art blocksy to me, like the same way like
I
Bernie
totally
may
agree.
feel
I also get
right,
like Web3, like Time magazine cover kind of
right.
feelings out of it too,
Right.
right? Like the representation of a feeling of a time, like just very topical, very like, in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I've always been bullish on MFers. I think that they are the
I,
PFP
I
collection that will
I'm
define.
glad you brought that up because that was probably one of your greatest calls on this show when they were down to like what, point 0.1 ETH, if that.
Right.
And just like expressing the importance of not only what that meme was, but who was behind the meme and why that is such a strong sentiment. Now, um, it subsequently went on just an absolutely incredible run.
Well, it went up to 7 ETH, and they're I think 1.3 or 1.4 now. They've certainly pulled back a lot, but my thesis is literally unchanged. I think during the next cycle they could get up to 30 ETH. I think you need a lot more people in NFTs to care for them to get there, but I do think they have, when we look down the road, the same type of historic value as punks, which are a meme. Okay, I mean at their base and foundation, it's another meme. Uh, I it the it was a very nice pump for MFers, and I think it was amazing to me how, boy, did that change when Satoshi left, and
Yeah.
the main vibe was
Did
what
he? Did I
a
just see
cash
recently he's like
grabber.
kind of back or?
Well, yeah, I was going to get to that.
Okay.
He has announced he will be returning. I forget what it was. I think he said in April, which would make you think he's going to show up on 420 just because it's
For the
Sartoshi,
culture,
but
yeah.
right, for the culture. And I don't, you saw his farewell NFT pump 100x on it. It went from 0.006 to no, 10x. I think it went from 0.006 to zero point 0.6, 0.06, excuse me. And all of his other NFTs, the airdrop of Crazies, which was a different artist who a collection that he blessed. His MFers pumped slightly, but yeah, he's coming back. We'll see what that is about. I don't think it matters whether he came back or not. I think this is the same reason I would be bullish on 6529 memes. Powerful.
For sure. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, I remember I bought one of those 3D MFers that had Sartoshi's kind of nod of approval too, and even in that pump, those went pretty crazy. I think they got up to like 2.5 ETH. In hindsight, should have sold that one, but it's all good. I don't
Yeah,
think I
eventually.
don't see things like that coming back on the next one, but
Right,
like you
right.
know,
Eventually, he was like Dolly. He was just whatever. He'd approve anything, and like
right.
every collection got his blessing. So there were, each rolling pump was like a sin wave and half of the previous one. But hey, it's I always will love Sartoshi. Thinks he's obviously a world class memer. Would welcome him back, but also don't think it mattered that he left. I think certain collections are obvious history. You just have to give time for history to become just that.
Well, and that was one of the things that like when we were in conversations with like Galactic Apes and talking to people within that community, they're and bringing them into Star Wolves, it was how are you guys going to bring this back? And it was we had that whole conversation of like, we want to bring you along and fold you into it and all that. But honestly, like, I said this too, like, rest assured that I think that this collection, regardless of who it's under or if it's under anyone, holds such a special part in the NFT history that like it will have its day regardless, right? And sure, if you can add value to it and kind of galvanize that community and whatnot, that's great. But I just like that though. I think that applies to a lot of collections in this. And when you say your hidden folder, there's probably going to be some gems in there. There very well could be, right? If you were participating in NFTs of like August of 2021 or in and around that time, I think, right?
It's always it's always, I say, a good idea to not just, dump the things that are in your hidden folder, even if you can get 0.01 or 0.02 for it, because you never know what's going to come back and have a pump. Anything that had a moment has the chance to have a moment again. You see how many communities are just out there lingering? Those lingering communities, that's a base. Like if you have that base, it's going to be very easy to see subsequent, markets come back. You'll see.
I was just talking to somebody about lazy lions the other day, and they're like, "Yeah, I have a big bag of those." I'm like, "That's great because that community just doesn't die."
I see.
And then lo and behold, like I'm looking at WGMI, and in the last 7 days, they're up, 30%.
It's crazy. Yeah, I see lazy lions. I see froggy friends. I see little lemons. I see wonder pals. I see losers. I see.
Yeah.
I can just keep going on. And again, no one's calling for a pump in any of these things anytime. You just never know when. But I've talked about the strategy of anything that had a moment and is under 0.03. That's like an easy 4x. If you were like, oh, I have 3 ETH that I could park for a year and I don't know what to do with it, pick a random collection that had a moment that's under 0.03, buy 80 of them, and
I know. No, I mean
it's just one day you get.
It has to have had a moment though, too, right? Like it has to have had like a real.
No, it has to have had a moment,
and you have to be able to explain what that was.
Right.
But if you can spend like a good 10 minutes talking about that moment, like I do think that was a real moment.
Yeah, if the collection never made it off the ground, never had a pump, was just a mint that minted out but then just died. Yeah. And these will probably never come back. Nobody cares about them. But they're just, you can make fun of the community meta, but there are some people that cared about community, found their community, and they're just never going away. They show up every day. They're there. They're present. There will be.
And believe me, if they still have a community at this point, I mean, like you're looking good.
Yeah, for real. I think it's a great strategy. Like, look, if you had done it with star catchers, right? Star catchers were sitting at 0.019, so under 0.02. And then they announced whatever that, I forget, there was going to be.
I don't even know what they announced. They announced the announcement. And by the way, it's below 0.03 again.
Right. And they got up to 0.14 and were there for like 2 days. Yeah. That could have been, you could have easily turned 3 ETH into 12 ETH, but and had a day to do. It wasn't like it was a quick pump you couldn't sell into. Yeah. It lasted for about a day. And this is going to happen with every one of these, every one of these little collections that had their little moment. You'll see these random pumps now and again. So not a bad place.
I do think that Starcatchers thing kind of creates an interesting dynamic in the holders kind of structure too, right? Because it has kind of fallen back down to 0.03. So I do think getting back up to that number in the short term is going to be difficult, because if volume does all of a sudden return without some kind of like major announcement or news or partnership or whatever, I think that there's a lot of people that bought into that volume spike that are now going to be like, I got to get out of this, right? So it might not be as simple, but again, like it is now basically sitting at the price that we were referring to before that pump, and we know it can get back up to 0.14 with a little bit of momentum. And I think that is because they have still a dev team and a community behind them, right?
Yep.
So now I'm not incredibly bullish on star catchers, but I think that thesis is absolutely true. Like why can't you just go buy 5 of these for 0.15 and sit on them and then just like list them
You're just
for
gonna
the
have to
next
wait. You
6
know,
months,
you just
right?
say you
Yeah.
may have to wait a year, but if you're in the nice position of having an extra few ETH that you can park somewhere for a year, I don't know if there's anywhere else you can get better than 400 or 500%. And I just, I really think all of them that have these teams that are still there, they're gonna push out marketing now. And again, that works. It's a quiet market. People are looking for stuff. People want pumps. They want something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I know you took a lot of flack for the little lemons thing at points, but I mean, really, that was an incredibly strong community too. I mean, those were spaces that were going on for months and months and months that had hundreds of people in them at a time at some points, right? Like that Farouk pump
It's
was
still a very
incredible.
Yeah, and it's still a very vibrant community. It's sitting at its mint price right now, exactly what it minted at back in the day. So it's another one. I'm sure one day it's going to have a random pump up to 0.1, and that's an easy 5x for anyone who just
Yeah.
has time to park money somewhere. They all have legitimate communities, and the communities like to take the baton and speaking of Little Lemons, a Little Lemons community member just did a whole thing at a convention for Little Lemons, like a speech about what NFTs were, why Little Lemons represented best. And you get, all these collections with communities that linger around. I think they've been cemented into NFT canon. It's more about when does the next bull market come back than whether these will see, some sort of pump, see some life again in the future.
Yeah, I don't even mean to say that they'll ever reach all-time highs again either, but like from this point to whatever they reach after could be incredibly viable, right? Yeah. I think there were definitely some projects that pretty frothy for a while there. I'm bullish on Cool Man's Universe. Do I see them going back up to 3 ETH? Maybe in dollar values, I don't know. But I do think that's another project that will probably have a moment. We should do we should look at some projects that are like under 0.05 and do like a little power ranking, like a top 10, like
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Homework for the weekend. Power rankings. Everyone loves the power rankings, I think. I don't have like a ton left to talk about except for Animoca. Did you see Animoca's launching a PFP NFT?
No.
I feel like
they're making everybody else's metaverse, and then they're like, "No, we're gonna launch our own NFT now."
Well, yeah, the Mochaverse. That's right. Yeah, I mean, Animoca is about as big of a name for like Web3 as they come at this point with all of their investments and their funding and all of the things that they're doing. They're launching their own PFP, but it is kind of interesting because they're almost creating this like ecosystem of education and networking and whatnot. So they're actually reserving it. And this is where like I'm not really sure what this intends to be, but they're being reserved for Animoca Brands, institutional and retail investors, employees of Animoca Brands and its subsidiaries, management teams of companies in Animoca Brands Web3 investment portfolio, and partners of Animoca Brands. So these are the people that are going to be on the allow list, which I find fascinating because it's like who is actually going to be selling these, Like if this is just like a membership card into their little a business Rolodex, like, you would think that they all want to be a part of that. So I don't really know what this looks like in terms of selling if they're not even going to be available to like the general public. But I mean, interesting nonetheless. I always like to see when utility is being driven in that, and like that I think that that's an interesting thing for like a company to do. You know what I mean? Like, could you imagine if God, like Y Combinator, any brand that's in Y Combinator gets these NFT membership passes, and like you get put into like networking events and stuff like that. Like I think that that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think that was one thing, obviously not that specific idea, but that was why I thought the Tim Ferriss NFTs, that membership NFTs with the right group makes a lot of sense. And, you know, Animoca is the go-to de facto metaverse builders, it seems.
Yeah, so these are going to be released in Q1 of 2023. And there's going to be 8,888 of them. I'm just so curious as to, like, if you buy one of these from like one of their subsidiaries, like somebody just is like, oh, that's cool, I'm going to sell it for 1.5 ETH. Do you now, even though you're not part of Animoca's like ecosystem, get to
I
like
wonder
be a
where they
part of
got that supply number from.
what?
Feels like they're copying. I don't know a lot of projects with an 8,888 supply.
Are we talking about 888?
888. Yeah. He's behind all. Do you remember? Do you guys remember?
Man, what happened to that guy? That was a take the free 3 ETH.
Well,
that was that was an all-timer, honestly. I think that I think in a lot of ways that probably could have signaled a top in you know how many people were buying into that much. I drank the Kool-Aid too. Look, I did.
Yeah, but that's not who I was talking about. You can't think of any other projects with an 8,880 supply?
8,880, yes, not 8,888.
Okay, that's like when you change one sentence so that you don't look like you plagiarized. Let's be honest.
Let's put 8 more in there.
Has their eye on and who?
Yeah, I knew where you were going with it. I just wanted to throw you the curveball.
Well, I knocked it out of the park. So.
Did you? I think it was a foul.
Ooh.
Hey, you guys signed Aaron Judge. Did I mention that?
We did.
Are you happy about that?
I'm very happy about that.
I bet you are.
I think he probably got a lot more money than he would have otherwise. So.
Well, did you hear that story about Steinbrenner calling him up? I can't remember what the young Steinbrenner is called.
No, what was the?
Well, I guess the standing offer was like $320 million. It's
a lot of millions, man.
It's a lot of millions. And then Steinbrenner called him up and just said, look, do you want to be a Yankee? And he said yes. And he goes, perfect. $360 million is now your offer. And he upped it by $40 million. And I guess Aaron Judge accepted it on the spot.
I love it. If I was Aaron Judge, I'd have been like, I want $420,690,000.
Right. Why not 69 million or
I want
690 million?
Pay me in SHIB.
Pay me in SHIB. Could you imagine Aaron Judge accepts $360 million contract in SHIB coin?
I'm more imagining the Steinbrenners having to market buy $400 million worth of SHIB to pay this guy.
Oh, amazing. Well, you want to see the price of a token go up.
Oh, yeah.
What a time to be alive.
You know, I've never owned any SHIB.
No, I haven't either. I still just think like that one story of that one degen that bought $8,000 worth of it like 2 years prior or a year prior.
That was it. That was the only thing crypto was designed to do, was to make that guy a billionaire so we could all go, wow. And that was pretty much it. It was over after that.
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest things about crypto is just that, like, it used to be, you know, oh, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But then you hear all of these stories in crypto of like somebody that turns $8,000 into $3.2 billion in a year. And then it's just like, well, that sounds too good to be true, but it actually fucking happened.
Here's the bottom line. Blockchain tokenization is a much better vehicle than equity. Period. It's in the future. I think all companies will issue tokens instead of what we understand as equity. The thing is,
I think that's one of the biggest use cases that people are wanting, right?
Right. And obviously the issue right now is you don't want to make your token look like a security before there's laws in play. Right. Or if you just want to be part of the Ponzi casino, you of course don't want your token to look like a security so that you get killed before you even get your Ponzi off the ground. But because of that fact, I think that eventually everyone's going to issue. I mean, tokens are it, man. It's the future. This is what it and all SHIB showed was that it's that tokens are a much better vehicle than equity because the average person can get in on a token early. This is
we from a purely technological standpoint too, and we had this conversation on Terrestrial Thursday last night, but like I find myself getting increasingly bullish on soulbound tokens and POAPs. Now obviously there's almost zero speculative value in any of that, and not potentially a lot of money to be made just in trading those. In fact, almost none. But like I think that is quickly becoming one of my more interesting like technologies that is going to go hand in hand with NFTs and crypto too, right?
Yeah.
I know I kind of changed the plot there. I don't know if I just interrupted a thought where you were going with something, but
nope. I am in agreement with you.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to go in there. And honestly, like I Ryan Carson, let's talk about that for a little bit. I mean, Ryan Carson's holding these spaces. Every day, thousands of people are showing up, and a lot of it is because of the POAPs that he's issuing, because it's going to lead to a mint that he's doing next year. And the thought behind it is that it's proof 2.0. I don't know if I'd go that far with it, but all of a sudden, despite the fact that there's maybe 2,000 people listening to these spaces, there's 6, 7, 8,000 of these POAPs being claimed, right? Pure, true NFT degen fashion. Now we're POAP farming, and I think intentionally or unintentionally created another grind. But I do think that there's some meat on that bone, right?
Yes. Is proof that good? What has come out of proof? I would like to know.
Proof of reserve, proof of stake.
Was Moonbirds always the plan, or did they like decide? Did proof come up with that? Was it like a proof project where they were like, let's do this? Because that would be very successful. That was a successful mint.
I think that proof was successful almost entirely based on just who started it and his ability to leverage his identity into having notable, prominent people within that community, right? Like it was almost just a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I think it got better over time. I've never been in proof, but I actually have heard like there's incredibly good, poignant discussion in there. There's very, very prominent people within investing and within crypto and within NFTs and artists and all of that stuff that are actually active in there too. It's not just like they're a name on the Discord list. And I think that is by and large a lot of the appeal. You get a lot of very, very valuable information and insight into kind of the upper echelons of this scene, right? And you know, if Kevin Rose is someone that you have listened to and followed and kind of trusted, you know, you would make a lot of money off art blocks.
I would follow him into the depths of hell.
Would you?
No, I don't even know. I've never even heard him speak.
What, Kevin Rose?
Yeah, Kevin Rose.
Okay.
I have nothing against him. I don't know who he is, and I've never heard him speak. I'm sure he's great, though.
You haven't?
No.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where Ryan Carson was. You know, there was all of that.
I used to
scandal.
I used to listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't anymore. I find I don't know why. I think.
I will say this: if you're going to listen to a lot of podcasts, you better have one or two in your rotation that you disagree with. Like, they're well thought out. They're, you know, at its base layer are enjoyable to listen to, but that you can listen to that podcast and feel like you disagree with them at least multiple times.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think podcasts are one of those sneaky things where you start to have like a handful of them that you only listen to, and you find yourself being like, oh, I agree with everything they said, and you're kind of just insulating yourself. You're just creating your own little echo chamber of like, I'm only absorbing information of people that I agree with, and therefore it must be right. You know what I mean? Like, I have a couple of crypto based podcasts that I listen to that I don't particularly agree with everything that's been said or the narratives that they're doing, but it does help me wrap my head around the other side. And it does kind of help me reinforce that I'm feeling the right way about things that I do believe in, right?
Yes.
Or is that flawed logic?
No. That's completely correct. That's completely correct. I'm learning that I listen and consume most things for entertainment, but I was tricking myself into thinking it was to acquire knowledge. And I realized knowledge is not very valuable. I know that sounds weird. But.
Well, there was one of the podcasts I listened to is My First Million, and one of the hosts, Sean, on there did a Twitter thread kind of when, I think it was when FTX was going down, and he basically just realized, like, or he basically just started talking about, like, I've come to the realization that there aren't any adults in the room and there's no real smart money. Do you know what I mean? It was just like this idea of like, we're all just kind of like floundering through all of this. And I think that kind of strengthens your point there in a sense of like, you can listen to people who you think are the smartest, but you know, it doesn't mean that everything that they do or everything that they say is right or spot on even.
And here's where the calculus came down in my head. If I'm not getting any alpha from these things, then why am I listening? And if I'm listening for entertainment, I said, is this what entertains me most? And I said, or is it this false idea that somehow acquiring this thing people call knowledge is going to give me alpha? And I realized that in my personal, and this isn't for anyone else, this is just me personally, but my alpha does not come from listening to other people talk about markets. It comes from observing the world, seeing something happen and go, I wonder how that relates to this. The less I consume about markets and crypto, the better. Tell me less, right? Like sometimes.
Well, I think that goes back to my point of saying like you should have some entertaining, like you still derive some kind of entertainment from it, even if you don't agree with them, right? Like, because I do think that helps you shape a worldview.
Like, I don't listen to political podcasts because I don't care about the two podcasts I listen to right now, and I'll shout them out because I love them, and that's Daring Fireball by John Gruber, which is an Apple podcast. It's like if you nerd out about Apple computers, how the company's being. I know it seems like a niche subject, but they literally just talk about Apple. He is a lib that sometimes ventures into politics, but I deal with it because it's mostly an Apple podcast. But that and hardcore history. I love hardcore history with what's his name? Dan Carlin, because he delves into parts of history that historians will not delve into, and I find it very entertaining. And I think those things entertain me more than market podcasts.
I'll have to check out the hardcore history one. I've absolutely heard of it before, but an interesting one I thought to listen to if you like stuff like that was How to Take Over the World. And he basically just does like 2-part episodes or 2 or 3-part episodes of prominent historical figures that, you know, rose to the absolute top of the world food chain, and kind of dissects the personality traits of them and what got them there, and you know what the underlying thing is, and tries to find like a commonality between all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we talk about the Rothschild, Napoleon. He did Putin. Got Putin on the mind. Putin as an exception to the rule, because normally the people he does are dead. but I thought it was an incredibly insightful, but like entertaining podcast too, right?
Yeah.
Disney, Walt Disney was one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Go check it out.
I wanted to get a book about Walt Disney. It was a good book about
Which
Disney.
one?
I have to go look it up.
Ooh, also, I guess we never really mentioned it, but Bob Iger back in charge of Disney, eh?
I'm for it.
Yeah, that's I got to read his book. He's a smart guy. Stating the obvious.
Yes.
All right, cool. What do you got going on for the weekend, man? What are we doing? What are we seeing? What are we watching? Do we Valhalla dead? Everything dead?
Everything's dead for now. Let's see how traditional markets close. I think that we are going to reverse on all of this. Bears are excited again.
Whew, S&P down bad.
Yes, S&P down. But I contend this is a factor of options expiration. I think it's going to reverse. But we have very clearly defined risk here, which is the 3850 level on the S&P. Underneath, I'm wrong. I lick my wounds. I readjust. And then we wait for the next pop to go short. Though my feeling is that if we do dip under there, we're going to get bought up around 3,800 and no one's going to be right. We're just going to go sideways for a month or two. I don't think you're going to get your big dip. I just don't. Everyone hoping for new lows, I don't think they're coming. I think at worst, you just don't get anything. I think we go down to a lower range and go sideways again. That's all.
All right.
But I have been sitting here with my finger on the buy button, just waiting. I didn't nip on that early bull trap above 3,900 because I figured that they would shake and bake. They've now shaked and baked and we're right at critical resistance. And I'm wondering if they just want to do that one last flush to 3,850. It was the level I called in my room last week. I thought we would go down at 3,850, then get bought back up to 4,150. We did the opposite. We got bought up to 4,150, and now we're down at 3,850. But it doesn't change the support level. And I think when we zoom out, the fundamentals are what's important. Inflation is dead. The economy has barely cracked. The S&P is almost 400 off its lows. And they want you to sell? Makes no sense.
Long ETH. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. All right.
I am actually watching alts right now. Everything's come right into my buy area. Even Doge has finally pulled back to where it looks interesting again.
Yeah, I was
thing
looking
is,
at
like I
Doge
said,
at 8 cents
Yeah.
here. I can't even
Yeah,
go
8
margin long on it anymore.
oh. Yeah, like what happens if you try to log on to KuCoin?
I don't know.
So don't say you can't. You haven't tried it.
Shouldn't. I guess.
Get
that's
in
the
there,
word.
get in there, and 10x long Phantom just for me.
Let's do the "Where are they now?" conversation.
Let's do that. Let's do a fun show trade. Let's both long Phantom here at 21.5 cents and see where it is on Monday. We're not
Why
allowed.
why don't you one short and one long?
Should we do that? That would be fun.
Winner takes the ETH.
But that would just make the other person even.
What?
Nobody wins. No, both
GM.
people lose. I don't know.
GM Raji coming in right at the end of the show here.
The rawest of G's.
Appreciate you though.
Mhm.
Appreciate everyone tuning in here.
Yes.
Maybe if a couple of you want to hit that like button, appreciate it. No big deal. Just do it. Hit it. Hit it. Oh man, I gotta get some I gotta do some Christmas shopping this week. weekend. I got to finish that off. I've been way ahead of the game this year. Normally, I leave it till the last 3 days, if that. Doing all right now, though. I feel good about that. A lot less stress when you do it that way.
Nice.
Not buying a whole lot either, though.
Yeah.
I still need to get a tree. So I haven't done that. Sad.
Trees are good.
I was kind of waiting until that little bit before Christmas and all of the stores kind of just fire sale all of the rest of their Christmas inventory because people are done buying it.
Yes.
I think I'm just going to do that. Little financial victory there.
Boom. Winner.
Okay. All right, man. We'll wrap this up. Thank you for everyone that tuned in today. 176 episodes are now in the book of the AlphaMint AM show. Free market. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope everybody that listens has a great weekend. If you tuned in late, we talked about Binance. We talked about Twitter a little bit. Did we talk about Twitter? I don't know. I don't think we actually did. The Donald Trump NFTs. We talked about memes, the meme cards by 6529. A little bit about Animoca brand launching a PFP. Pretty good stream of consciousness conversation going on today, though. We kind of just very seamlessly went from topic to topic, but it was a great show. As always, thank you, Raji. You have a good one too, my friend. Free market. Say the words.
Good luck at the tables, D-Gens.